Right. So my fifth presentation is about Alibaba and the future of business. This was written by Zeng. I believe this person was also employed with Alibaba, and this was sort of their the way that the study was created, or the article was created, was that it was looking into um, what they have done the past few years that made Alibaba one of the leading companies in tech right now. But I'm getting ahead of myself. But so first, um, so this is my fifth presentation, and I'd like to begin with a bit of history with of Alibaba. So, in September 2014, Alibaba became the world's biggest IPO. And today, the company has a market cap among the global top 10, surpassed Walmart in global sales, and has expanded into all major markets in the world. And we all know Jack Ma, which is now a household name. So, from its inception in 1999, Alibaba experienced great growth in its e commerce platform, and it had a vision, and that vision is to foster the development of an open, coordinated, prosperous e commerce platform. So, when they started in 1999, e commerce was not a thing yet. So, they were building it from scratch. And they were, in this way, they were also establishing what they could and couldn't do with the e commerce platform. And now, Alibaba's special innovation was building an ecosystem, which they defined as a community of organisms, that is, business and consumers of many types, that are interacting with one another and the environment. That environment is either the online platform or the larger offline physical elements. And the strategy was that they would provide all the resources or access to resources that an online business would need to succeed, and in turn supported the evolution of the ecosystem. So it's very natural. Um I think it's very the flow of what they wanted to do. It's like give and take. They give what they can to the community, and then the community will eventually bring back the value to the company, which is essentially what the ecosystem is, right? What we've been discussing so far. So, of the world's 10 most highly valued companies today, 7 are internet companies with business models similar to Alibaba, and 5 of them, that is Amazon, Google, Facebook, which is in the US, and then Alibaba and Tencent in China, have been around barely 20 years. So they had so much value and market power because of new capabilities in network coordination and data intelligence that all these companies put to good use. So these technologies, hindi pa sila available 20 years ago. And so these companies that are now the most highly valued companies, they made use of the technology, and they made use of it very well because they captured the value of what they could have from these new capabilities. So the ecosystems they built are more economically efficient and customer contract compared to traditional industry. And they follow an approach which the author calls smart business. Okay, so next is, what is a smart business? So Smart Business is a tech enabled platform that coordinates multiple business players in an ecosystem. So basically, it's what we've been also talking about, but they made a term for them, which is smart business. And it is said that we should strive to become a smart business with all the technologies that are available for us. So, players in the ecosystem share data and apply machine learning technology to identify and better fulfill consumer needs. So, their target is still to fulfill the consumer needs, to capture the value of providing them what they need. In that sense, using the technologies in order to provide them for them. So, for example, retailing and ride sharing. So they are coordinated in an online network and they use machine learning technology to efficiently leverage data in real time. And most of their operational decisions are made by machines, by the algorithms, by the machine learning programs, and the data that they feed into these machine learning programs. And this allows the company to dynamically and rapidly adapt to the changing market conditions and customer preferences. And in turn, they gain competitive advantage over traditional businesses that do not use such technologies. So, an example for under Alibaba is Ant microloans. So this is what they cited as an example of what the future is for a business model. So a bit of history. In 2012, loans were usually given by large banks in China, even in the Philippines, right? In millions of dollars. So if you're going to start up a company, the minimum loan amount is under $1 million. So if you're an SME, this is well above the amount you need. And you probably won't get approved because you don't have uh you don't have the collateral for it, because it's the minimum but you don't need as much. So of course banks was reluctant to serve companies that lack credit history or documentation of business activity. So those two are very important for banks to provide the loan. So millions of businesses, millions in China, are having difficulty securing the money to grow their operations. And Alibaba, being the marketplace that it was, had access to transaction data generated by small businesses in their platform. So imagine it's Lazada and you have a store, and every merchant uh, has transaction history in the application or in Lazada. So Lazada has all the access of all these transactions in their system. So for Alibaba, they use this information to analyze whether or not a business could be provided a loan or not. So they launched a data-driven microloan business, which is Ant Microloan, that offers loans to businesses in amounts no larger than $160,000. So it's up to $160,000, but it could be less. They use machine learning in order to evaluate how much they could loan to the merchant, and the terms of their loan and the interest that will be given. So all this information is generated by their machine learning. Nothing has to be done manually. So whenever a merchant wants to apply for a loan, they just allow Alibaba or Ant Microloan to access their data, and then there will be an output whether their loan is approved or not. So in 7 years of operation, the business Ant Microloan has lent more than $13 billion to nearly 3 million SMEs in China. And in 2012, it was bundled, this lending operation, with Alipay, the payments business, to create Ant Financial Services. So they coined the term Ant because it's like they're empowering little but industrious ant-like companies, the SMEs. So given the success of this business model, next question is, how do you create that kind of business? The smart business. So we have here like a framework in order to automate all operating decisions. To become a smart business, your firm must enable as many operating decisions as possible to be made by machines, fueled by live data rather than human supported by their own analysis. So it's very different, no? When you think about it, we're eliminating the human decision with all the human emotions and factors. Um, Alibaba, or yeah, they are recommending that all of these decisions be done through the machine. And throughout this presentation, we'll figure out how exactly they what they are advising us to do it. So there are four steps. First is to datafy every customer exchange. This is making sure that every interaction yields as much data as possible. And of course, as technology grows, the storage is not as much a big of a problem as it was in the past. So it will be easy to capture all the data as much as possible that could be used for their machine learning. And then the second step is to software every activity. This is ensuring that all business activity is mediated by software. And then three, get data flowing. So this is using APIs and other internet protocols to ensure smooth interaction among software systems. And then lastly, apply algorithms. So these are the machine learnings to make sense of the data in real time. So we'll discuss this individually one by one. So the first step is to datafy every customer exchange. So it is to capture all information generated during exchanges and communications with customers and other network members as the business operates. Live data is essential to creating feedback loops for machine learning. So in a smart business, like Ant, they were fortunate to have access to data that allowed them to answer questions they needed for its lending business because they had Alibaba. So for many businesses, of course, they don't have that data, which makes it more challenging. Now, live data is essential. Yeah, as I mentioned, it's essential to creating the feedback loops for machine learning. They need that data to be fed into their systems so that the machine can learn more and then generate a more productive or more efficient output. So there's an example here. It's a bike rental business in China. So if you can imagine, renting a bike, when you want to rent a bike, you go to a bike rental store, leave the deposit, and then someone will give you a bike. Then you use the bike, and then you return the bike after you use it. Then you pay for the rental by cash or card, and then you get back your deposit. So in China, because I think bikes are more supported there, or more popular, is a more popular mode of transportation in China. So several Chinese companies have attempted to offer this service online, but there was one crucial innovation that changed the game for this business. So it was a combination of QR codes and electronic locks that automated the checkout process. So basically, it's a bike sharing app. So riders can see. Imagine it's Grab. So when you open the application and then you see within the area who is renting their bikes. So from the app, you can reserve it, and then when you go to the location, you use the app to scan a QR code to unlock the bike. And then the money will automatically be deducted from your account in the application. So that's it. You get the bike, you use it, and it's now registered under your account in the application. And then when you return it, the lock is automatically closed, and then the transaction is complete. So it's a simple, intuitive process which takes several seconds. It improves customer experience, and bike rental costs in China has fallen to few cents per hour. So when you think about it, of course, yung lower cost doesn't really help the business. But if you think about how much, how more people have now access to the bikes, their value for that is probably a lot more. The value they get for that is probably a lot more. So, in this case, they automated the entire checkout process, and there was no more need for any other human interaction, and it made the process simpler, and all this with the data that is provided from the application. So the next is software every activity. So in a smart business, again, because this is what we strive for, all activities, not just knowledge management or customer relations, are configured using software so that decisions affecting them can be automated. So this is not the traditional ERP software that we have right now that you buy or you build, but these softwares, in fact, as they said, make the process and decision flow more rigid and constrained because they follow certain parameters or configurations that was applicable in the traditional business. But what Alibaba is recommending is that you first the first step is to build a model of how humans currently make decisions and find ways to replicate the simpler elements of that process using a software. So an example of this is Taobao. It is the domestic retailing website of Alibaba, which is driven by continuous softwaring of retailing process. Sino-software nila every service that is provided in Taobao. So this was like their brainchild for Taobao. So one of the first software tools that they had for Taobao was Wang Wang. So it's an instant messaging tool where buyers and sellers can talk to each other. So they greet, they introduce products, they negotiate prices, just like in a traditional retail shop. And then another software tool is to help sellers design sophisticated online shop fronts to attract their customers. And they could customize it with how they want it. Of course, if you're not very tech savvy, this software is I imagine, because I haven't seen it, is would be easy to use or user friendly for anyone who would want to design their store, but doesn't have the technical knowledge to program of them, of course. So this was a service that was software that Alibaba made a software for their clients. And another software tool they created was for the sellers to issue coupons, discounts, run loyalty programs, and other customer relationship activities coordinated with one another. So when you think about it, these things we probably have now. They probably have it in Lazada, in Shopee. But during the time of Alibaba, they were the ones who first did it. Of course, I don't know. It's not provided in the paper, but I can only imagine that creating these innovations, these softwares, they probably created a lot, and maybe not all of them are being actively used, but that was the idea, that you create software that will be beneficial for the ecosystem. And next is step 3, get data flowing. So, communication standards such as TCP, IP, and Application Programming Interface or APIs are critical in getting the data flowing among multiple players while ensuring control of who can access the data and edit the data in the ecosystem. So, in ecosystems, as we know, there are many interconnected players, and businesses decisions require complex coordination between these players. So we go to an example, which is Taobao's recommendation engine. So it needs to work with inventory management systems of the sellers, with consumer profiling. This can come from social media platforms. And then the transaction systems need to work with discount offers and loyalty programs, and eventually coordinated to its logistics network. So APIs allow different software systems to and coordinate with one another online, which is the key to of Taobao's development. So eventually, the site needed more support from third-party developers, and the new software requires to be interoperable with all other softwares on the platform because yun nga, their goal was to software everything. So they had to seek third-party developers, which now becomes part of their ecosystem. But in turn, these whatever they develop should be compatible with what they have already built. So that's their way of controlling the access of their third party developers. So today, Taobao merchants subscribe to more than 100 software modules on average, which decrease the cost of doing business. And data sharing is a challenge for the countries where the company operates in, but the direction is clear. The more data flows across the network, the smarter the business becomes and the more value the ecosystem creates. And then the last step, yes, this is that one. Step four, apply the algorithms. So once a business has all its operations online, they need to create models and algorithms to assimilate, interpret, and use the data to their advantage. So the challenge for data scientists and economists is what job they want the machine to do, and they have to define what a job well done means for a particular business setting. So for Taobao, their goal is to fit each individual needs so that when a customer logs in, they see a custom web page with products by different merchants that is generated automatically by the recommendation engine. So you know this, you probably have this in Facebook, right? The news feed. It's generated by the algorithms of Facebook. So the same way goes with Taobao or other online marketplaces. When you scroll through your feed, you see all these products and recommendations. And where do they get that, right? It's from the algorithm. And the algorithm gets this information from different sources in the ecosystem. So when Taobao started, it was just simple browsing when they had fewer visits and products to handle. Now its search engine powered by machine learning algorithms are capable of processing huge volume of inquiries. And it's also working with optical recognition search algorithms. So what this is when, for example, you take a photo of what you want, what you're looking for because you don't know what it's called. So you just take a photo and then the application or Taobao will match the photo to any of the products on their website. I'm not sure if Lazada already have this, but yeah, it was at the time of this paper, they were still working on this algorithm. And lastly, another example is Alibaba's AI powered chatbot. So this is pretty interesting. So the chatbot is basically it answers the inquiries. So it benefits the sellers because it's like an automatic response, FAQ. So the chatbots are trained by the merchants individually to ask to answer the common questions that customers asks using machine learning technologies such as data mining and deep learning. So for one of the examples cited was Senma, a merchant, and after 1 year of using the chatbot itself reached sales that is 26 times higher than one of their human sales associates. So in that sense, building more they are creating more value for their business by just using one of the algorithms that Taobao is offering, which is the chatbot. And they couldn't have achieved it without that software, without that algorithm and that offering from the store or from Alibaba. So in conclusion, So the basis for creating a smart business is, first, engage in creative datafication to enrich the pool of data the businesses use to become smarter. And then software the business to put workflows and actors online, and then institute standards and APIs to enable real-time data flow and coordination. And lastly, apply machine learning algorithms to generate smart business decisions. That's all.